and we had a lot of technical stuff to get set up. So come in and have a seat, and we've got a lot for you tonight. We've got Mr. Robert Barrett here who'll be doing our presentation in about half an hour, and he has some artwork over here, paintings and such, and there are books up here, so feel free to check those out before or after his presentation. And we are streaming live on Facebook, barring any technical difficulties that shut the stream down. So you can go to the Utah Watercolor Society Facebook page, and this video will live there. We will also download it and save it to our YouTube channel, which is Utah Watercolor Society, and I'll be emailing a copy to Mr. Barrett as well. So for those of you who can't always join us, please log on and watch us from your home when you're not wanting to travel in the snow or something like that. But I'm going to encourage you to come in the snow because we have lots of fun stuff planned. So let's get going for tonight. So first order of business, our 2017-2018 member year directories are here. If you don't already have yours, Art Sleeper in the red sweater in the back there, he's waving to you. He has the directories in a box. You do need to sign for your directory. We've printed one for each member, but we don't have a lot of extras that anybody can you can't take 2 or 3. You need to sign out yours. So he's got that. We also have our member year business cards. If you'd like a business card, they've got different paintings on the front. They've got our society information on the back, and those are what you can use to show at our merchant partners to get the UWS discount for services. If you want to know what the merchant partners offer, who they are, that information is in our newsletter, and it is also on our website on the resources page, so check that out. Western Federation of Watercolor Societies. The exhibition is coming. The entry deadline is December 1st, so this is our last meeting to remind you in person. You will get some more email reminders. Utah Watercolor Society is a member of Western Fed, which is an organization of several Western states' watercolor societies. It is a prestigious show. Please enter. You never know, because there's a different judge and jury every year, different juror every year, and you never know what's going to strike the fancy of one person that may not have another. So go ahead and enter again, and enter again. The juror this year is Ted Nuttall. The entry deadline, as I mentioned, is December 1st at 8 p.m. You will be receiving more emails regarding that information. You can also go to the UtahWatercolorSociety.org website, and it is on the home page that you can click the prospectus and the entry information from there. Question?
Is he primarily known as a figure painter, would you say?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, but check out his website and see. Colleen Reynolds is our Western Fed delegate this year. Ann Galt is the alternate delegate, so if you have questions regarding Western Fed, those two people are good resources. The UWS 2-Star Signature Exhibition. This is for members who are either a 2-star member or a signature member of the Utah Watercolor Society, so it's a good reason to work towards those goals. This show takes place every other year. Typically it's in the odd-numbered years, so the 2017 show is what's coming up, but we had some scheduling issues with our venue, so we had to reschedule. So our 2017 exhibition is actually going to take place in January 2018, and it will be at Eccles Community Arts Center. If you are a 2-star member or a signature member, you are automatically accepted to the show. You can enter up to 2 paintings, 1 or 2 paintings. So you just have to register, and then you have to get your painting delivered to the venue on time. If you want to also enter that same painting into the Western Fed show, you can do that, but you must remember to mark your painting as not for sale for the 2-star signature show, so that it doesn't get sold if you've committed it to the Western Fed entry. So the timing will work out that you can enter into both if you want. If you have your fabulous painting, do it. Go for it. The early painting drop-off for Logan is December 15th at Roxanne Pfister's house, and in Salt Lake City, December 15th at Visual Arts Institute. And I think Barbara Kidd will be in charge of intake of those paintings at VAI. The final drop-off is December 29th at the Echoes Community Art Center. So, if possible, you might want to try to do the December 15th so you don't have to drive to Ogden. And you can contact Roxanne Pfister or Barbara Kidd with questions. Their emails are available on our website under the board members. And if you have your directory, you can look up their phone number too. Just to mention about our illustrated journaling group, for those of you who've been participating the last few months, you know about it. For those who don't but are interested, the group meets on the night of our meeting, which is tonight, the first Tuesday of the month at 6:30 p.m. right up here on the stage behind the screen. Bess Ann Swanson leads the group. Everybody is welcome. All skill levels are welcome, but she is a stickler for time. She has curfew issues. So come, be on time, or come the next month if you miss it. Our next paint out coming up this Saturday in the old Macy's parking lot at Cottonwood Mall? Old Cottonwood Mall? Apparently there is a really nice view of the mountain from there. 10 a.m. at the parking lot, and then around noon, the people who come also get together and go get some lunch and have a bite to eat and socialize. Paint outs are really fun, even if you're not typically a plein air painter, which I'm not, but I've participated in some of them the last year, and it's a lot of fun. Good way to just visit and enjoy and just get your brushes wet. And in November, it's always kind of a fun challenge because sometimes it doesn't dry out fast. Tonight and next month and in the coming months, we are starting our fundraising drive for the Mary Straight Scholarship Fund. For those of you who knew Mary, you know what a wonderful woman and artist she was and what a contribution to the society. When she passed, she had a lot of art supplies, and she left those to the society. And they have been, over the years, sold off, auctioned off, whatnot, to raise money, and we dedicated our scholarship fund in her name. So every year there are 2 scholarships that are awarded to high school students that participate in the Springville Art Show. One of those students comes from Logan, or the Cache Valley area, representing the Cache Valley chapter, and the other one comes from other parts of Utah. So there are silent auction items out in the hall tonight. These are used items. They're not, except for some of the books out there are new. These are things that had been donated by Mary or that we had in our storage closet. It's a great fundraiser, and if you can go take a look at the silent auction sheets, see what there is, bid on stuff if you're interested. Whoever keeps outbidding me on that artograph, stop it. So next month we're going to have some mystery boxes to raffle off. We'll be selling raffle tickets for $1 a piece, or 6 tickets for $5. There will be good new items in the boxes. They will all be valued at least $20 to $30 a piece. It'll be a good value for you to come contribute $5 to the cause. So show up for the December meeting. We have lots of fun stuff, but that is one of those things. We are also going to be putting together opportunity drawings for a free registration for the spring week-long workshop with Jeannie McGuire. So look for that email coming soon. Just a reminder, if you would like to get announcements into our bi-monthly newsletter, those need to be sent to Mary Pusey. Any time is fine, but by the 16th of the month prior to the newsletter issue. So you should have just received your November, December newsletter last week. The January, February newsletter is coming up. If you want to get some personal art announcements in that newsletter, or you know of some things going on, send that information to Mary by the 16th of December. Additionally, we have the monthly e-blast that Phil Harrison puts together for us. That is another place that you can send out your exhibition news for people to come to your exhibitions, or if you have art opportunities at other venues in Utah that you think might be of interest to our members, send all that information to Phil. He can include that in our monthly e-blast, and that needs to get to him by the 25th of the month to go out for the following month. But you can again send it anytime. Earlier is better, so anytime. All right, Cache Valley has some announcements. Kent Baker.
Okay, so this month we're going to be having our monthly meeting at the Bingham studio, which is on North Main, 553, right? I have it as 553.
Sorry, that might be a typo.
Yeah, I think it's a typo. Board meeting, of course, is at 5:30. We have a critique at 6:30, and then our general meeting starts at 7. Michael Bingham is going to be presenting, and he is he's a great artist, and he has a great imagination. So it's really fun to be around him because he does incredible work. We have our winter show coming up. Registration is currently ongoing. It will close on December 1st. The final drop-off date will be the 4th. Sometime between now and probably the registration, we're going to have another drop-off from Salt Lake City, which is going to be arranged. So if you still have a painting you want to put in, let's just look at your email. We'll try to get out when that transfer will happen. And we have on the 18th, Rebecca Hartfordson workshop on floral painting. So you can come up for that. It's a Saturday workshop, $30 as you can see. So you can contact Cheryl Gordon and she will make the arrangements if you want to come. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Do we have any other announcements from anyone in the membership that you wanted to, you have a show coming up or anything you wanted to say? Okay, wow, it's really quiet. Oh.
I have one. I'll be having a show at the...
Stand up.
Okay. I'll be having a show the whole month of December at the JCC. It's the Jewish Community Center. It's just across the street from the University Utah Hospital, so the whole month of December.
And Mary, where are you at? Mary Pusey? You guys, your show is still hanging?
No, we just took it down.
Just took it down, okay. All right, not still hanging.
Thank you. Thanks for doing it. I'm Irene Rampton, and my show will come down this coming Friday at Phillips Art Gallery, 444 East.
So, yeah, so Phillips Art Gallery before the end of the week to see Irene's show. And when was yours again?
It's December 1st through the 30th.
December 1st through 30th.
And I'll have a reception on December 7th.
Okay. At the Jewish Community Art
Center.
Okay, Jewish Community Center. All right. We, of course, we want to give a big shout out and thank you. Oh, there was another one. Sorry. You gotta be like.
I'm Kay Hale, and I have a show that will come down on 14th of November, but it's currently at the Salt Lake Culinary Center.
Salt Lake Culinary Center for Kay Hale's show until the 14th. And Linda.
I'll jump in. I have one up at a little gallery called Draw Ink up on 6th Avenue.
Okay.
I don't even know how to get there, but
Draw.
it's up there. It'll be there till the 15th.
Okay, so we've got all kinds of member shows going on.
I'll be in a holiday show at the Utah Cultural Celebration Center out in West Valley. I don't know the exact dates, but it will be during December.
In December.
Yeah.
I think we've got a couple of members who are doing the holiday show at Utah Cultural Celebration Center, so that's always a good place to go check out too. They've got a really nice venue, so that it'll be sort of winter themed paintings there. Okay, all right, anybody else? See all of the great things our members are doing, that's awesome. All right, now Big shout out to Zoo Arts and Parks, and those of you who live in Salt Lake County, thank you, because your Zoo Arts and Parks or your ZAP money helps support us in part, supports our organization. So we do apply for a grant every year, and sometimes we get money and sometimes we don't, but we do this year, we had some last year, and we're very grateful for that support. So thank you to ZAP. All right, upcoming tonight we have Robert Barrett. Linda will be introducing him in just a moment, and before we do that, I want to remind you to come back in December, even if it snows. We have a potluck holiday social going on. We will maybe also be providing some main dish stuff for you, so we're discussing that. We will have opportunity drawings, like I mentioned earlier, for the scholarship fund. We will have giveaways that are just for coming, just door prizes for showing up. We are going to have, back by popular demand, Lester Lee to give us some more feedback and critique on your paintings. So yeah, definitely that warrants applause. Because we had so many people bring paintings in last time, he asked that you just bring one so that he has a chance to try to get through everybody that wants to have their painting critique. So bring it in. It can be anything. It doesn't have to be new. But just whatever you'd like some feedback on. I promise it is the nicest feedback session you'll ever get. The nicest critique you're ever going to get. And so we have a lot of fun stuff. There will also be our traditional holiday cards or small format painting, white elephant gift exchange. This is for original paintings or original hand-painted cards, 5x7 or smaller. If you'd like to bring one in, wrap it up, bring it in, you'll put it in the pot, you'll get another one to take home with you. So there's lots of fun stuff happening in December. Hopefully you can join us for that. And we'll be sending out, of course, some promotional email and some information to the website about that meeting. So now, tonight, we have Mr. Robert Barrett. Linda Flannery is going to come give us an introduction for him.
Well, I'm not going to.
Oh, she's going to do it from back there.
I gift card of the thing, but I can project. All right, I have a few quotes. Challenging, but I actually made progress. He gave me confidence in myself. He began with strong darks. For greater contrast, I will use this. I was amazed in fast 2 days. Loved the personal attention as he went around to each one of us and tailored comments to our particular abilities. Those are some of the feedback I got from a few people who took his workshop last week. Now, it's usually backwards because we have the person coming on the education night and then we have the workshop. So the rest of us are going to see what other people have seen through the workshop. And I'll just take some excerpts from some of the information that was already on there if you hadn't read the newsletter. Bob Barrett received his BFA in painting from the U of U and an MA and MFA from the University of Iowa. In addition to being an accomplished artist, painter, muralist, and illustrator, Bob is also a professor in the Department of Visual Arts at BYU. His exhibits are many. The Society of Illustrators in New York, Directors Guild of America, New York, National Arts Club, Annual Utah Illustrators Exhibition, Springville Salon, Salt Lake Arts Center, and there's probably many more that we don't know about. His work has been featured in International Artist Magazine, American Artist, Society of Illustrators, Communication Arts, and many, many more. If you weren't fortunate enough to have taken his workshop this last week, I think we're all in for a real treat tonight. Bob.
You'll excuse us for about 3 minutes while we switch the technical over so you can see his presentation on the screen a little better.
Nice to be with you all tonight. Seems like it wasn't that long ago I was here. And, it probably is. Well, as was mentioned, I teach at BYU. I'm actually in the illustration area, but it tends to be the area that's more figuratively oriented. We have colleagues, we're right now a separate department. We were the same department for years, and then about 3 years ago we divided into design into art and art education. And we tend to be a little more career focused in our area. So we'll bring in a lot of guests to speak about their experience, their influences. Often they'll do demonstrations for us. And week before last, we had Bill Perkins from Disney here doing watercolor demos for our students, which was great. This is our model, George, who modeled for us earlier. I'm just using an Arches paper here that's taped down, and I think that's not anything new to you. I have my watercolors over here in a pan, but I also have a butcher tray that I also use as a mixing area, a palette, and I have here, maybe you can see it, a stick of graphite. I prefer to draw with that rather than a pencil. It's just faster for me. I do so much drawing with charcoal and pastel and teach life drawing, and so I've kind of become accustomed to drawing with sticks rather than pencils, which does have the advantage of using a side, right, as well as a tip. You can see how this is kind of fashioned, so it's like a pencil, but it tapers down, and I can rock it back and forth and have thin lines, thick lines, and everything in between. So it's like having a few different brushes in your hand when you're drawing.
Never preference.
No, whichever one fits you better.
They both seem to fit.
Okay, maybe the darker one would be good, right? That'd be good. And if you want to turn a little bit more that way, right? Now, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time setting up the model, but I was telling people in the workshop that you do want to spend a little time setting up. You can try to see it more as a painting, right, than a snapshot or a photograph. So what I do have is a directional light here. It's going to reveal on the model the form of his face, primarily, which is the center of interest for me. His vest is pretty dark, so I'm not going to be doing too much with that, but it could just be a simple flat value, right? It could be masked in because it's so dark. And his hat does have sort of a middle area, so it has light and shadow on it as well. So I'll have both masks there, and I'll have light and shadow. So I tell my students sometimes there's line, which we'll start with, then there's mass, which is shape, and then there's form, which is light shadow. And we do have some shadows that are cast shadows that are hard-edged, and we have some that are form shadows, which are soft-edged. And that'll tell you a lot about the specific structure up there, whether it's blocking light or whether it's turning away from the light. I was saying to the workshop, I think some professionals and some amateurs have really great color, and they have great technique, and you can kind of go through their work and say, your warms and your cools are working, but then sometimes it falls down on drawing, right? Proportion. So particularly when you're working with the human figure, that becomes critical because you don't want the nose to be way too long or the ears out of relationship to the nose or whatever. So I believe that the drawing is probably one of the most important things. I have a process that I talk about, and I talked about it on the weekend, and it's a process called working from big to small and general to specific. So I start with a sketch, and then it kind of tightens up where I need it to, and then I'll start with bigger brushes and tighten up with smaller brushes. It's just a process, right? So I can see here, you know, there's an angle if I want to kind of start there with the hat. And we talked a little bit on gridding. John Singer Sargent, who was an amazing watercolorist, he said, drawing is about getting your landmarks in the right places and your angles at precisely the relative direction, right? And any two lines that you put down have kind of, at least if you've got the landmarks established, those two establish the scale for the whole drawing, right? And they could be up here, right? Or they could be something that I say, oh, I'm going to go down here. But I'm going to sort of just freehand this for just a little bit, and thinking a little bit more about placement, not maybe putting the figure exactly in the center of the page. There tends to be some kind of predisposition, which I don't totally understand, but we kind of, when we begin, sort of go for the center of the page, and then as your, what they call naive standards start to give way to more sophisticated standards, you start to learn to see things that aren't quite so predictable, right? Some of the watercolors that you'll see over on the table are much tighter. I've used the medium for a lot of different problems to be solved. I've illustrated children's books, I've illustrated articles in magazines, and then I've done a fair amount of just personal work with the medium. And there's an old illustrator named Dean Cornwell. He said the difference between I'm going to just paraphrase, the difference between an illustrator and a fine artist is that the latter goes through life painting things that they love, they're drawn to, they're passionate about, while the former has to take subjects that they have no interest or experience with and make the result appear as though it were the consummation of their life's one great ambition. How about that? It's a little bit aspirational. So you can see this is just kind of a quick sketch, and I know we don't have lots of time to kind of get on, but I can sort of from this. You see, I just switched this to the side. Adjustment. This hat is a little tall. So I'm just checking, I was just checking with an angle, you know, you close one eye, hold it up, say that's about that angle, and then drop it that way. That's kind of what Sargent, I think, was talking about. Well, Watercolor is a little different than opaque paint in that you work from, as you mostly know, right? You work from light to dark. I teach a head painting class on Tuesday and Thursdays, and we had a warm light on the model. I think we're going to keep the light warm on the model today. Oops, I don't know if you can see that. But, so, I told my students, well, if you want something to look warm, it's not a bad idea to have a cool ground to paint it on, but I'm not one that necessarily believes in coloring within the lines, so that goes back to my pre-kindergarten days. My mom saved everything I did, which is what most moms do, right? And I don't think I did anything but color within the lines. So I'm going to set this up with an idea that this light source is primarily warm. Let me see. And he's going to emerge eventually, right, as a light against dark. So I've kind of thought about that a little bit as I'm laying this in. So what I will do is cut the darks back in toward the light. And we know in nature we don't really see lines, right? I mean, it's a really great, quick language, if you will, for indicating space and shape and direction and all that. But sometimes if you let the line become too obvious in your drawing, it flattens it a little bit. So I tell my students we have different kinds of space. Basically, there's flat space, pictorial space. It looks like comic books or stained glass windows. Then you have real space, like this room that we walk around, or a piece of sculpture that you walk around. And then you have illusionistic space. And illusionistic space is flat, but it's trying to look like 3D. And our eyes tend to focus on one area. We don't see like a camera, which when it's focused, everything is tight and resolved. But when we're looking at somebody like you, I can only see one eye in focus, the other one's out of focus. So I think soft edges are sometimes helpful too, right? And watercolor is great for that. This table?
Yeah, we can let that see what the big over.
Oh, I don't know, it's okay, right? But if you want it, that's fine, that's great.
It's easier for, we don't want you to break it.
Well, this is great, right?
We should probably get some water.
Yeah, it's just fall all over. Well, I've never had that happen before, so they lived up the table.
We'll do one side and then the other.
Do you guys have any general questions about anything? You just kind of briefly look at it. Watercolor, I think, is an ideal medium for working with the concept of opposites as it relates to temperature, right? Warm, cool. Prior to the invention of watercolor, and oil's an older medium than that, artists had fewer colors and they worked a lot with value, light to dark. You think about Rembrandt or even Caravaggio or any of those older masters. And then with the Industrial Revolution and color being expanded in terms of its range of both saturation and hue, then Impressionists, right, like Monet or Pissarro or Lorenzo, any of those, they tend to go out with warm, cool, and with saturation. So this started to collapse and this started to expand. So I think watercolor doesn't necessarily, I mean, you can see some of my paintings over there I've gone pretty dark with, but you don't always have to go that dark. In fact, you look at a Monet painting, And it's really kind of uninteresting in black and white, but it's amazing in color, because the shadows are cool and the lights are warm, right? So that's the contrast. Plus, he's got things in the background that are desaturated, things foreground that are saturated. So it kind of was a different way of seeing the world, right? Okay, let's see. And George, I didn't ask you if anybody's timing today. Do you want to model until you just can't stand it anymore and say that's
Somebody needs to time.
So I'm going to cool down these shadows, and then this is just sort of the first pass, but my idea again is going to be that we have a warm light and a cool shadow, right? So I was telling the students on Friday and Saturday that as you kind of move down from the face, nose, and cheeks and mouth, which are kind of what you call the red zone of the face, to the thoracic area, things tend to cool off a bit. And so I've made this chin and neck a little more on the cool side. Backgrounds for me tend to be a little bit more of a mixture of what you have in the foreground. So I'm thinking I have warm and I have cool in the foreground. So maybe I can take the value of those, yellow and cool red and violet. Think of maybe background that's a bit of a mixture of those. You need, I think, in any art form, whether it's music or dance, you need contrast, but you also need repetition. So I was saying to the students that you can kind of design the palette by hand your lights and your darks and your temperatures to sort of maximize contrast, but also to create some repetition.
approximately half an hour for the model.
Okay, George, you want to take a break? Let's take a break. You guys have any questions? While we're taking a break?
Picture flat
Brush, paint, water? Yes?
How big is that flat brush? Can you hold it up?
Yeah, I think it's probably, it's a number 2. It looks like it's just over an inch, maybe an inch and a quarter, inch and a half, something like that. One of my students was giving a presentation today about another artist, and she said, I love this quote, I can't do it, but I love this quote. If you're struggling with a passage in a painting, get a bigger brush. And most want to get a smaller brush, which makes it harder. Right. Some cadmium orange, a little bit of cadmium red, maybe a little red oxide or something, but I had to decide I was going to play that orangey red off of that purple, right? That's the concept of opposites. So when he sat up there, I kind of knew it was based on this warm light. My demo on Saturday was the same warm light, but I just flipped it around and made the light cool. So then it was a list from crimson, a little bit of winter violet, and then for cool light, right? And then going into the shadow with the cad red, red oxide, black, going down. So the tricky thing is just to be consistent with that, right? You can imagine if Monet is doing a haystack and he's got this cool blue, right? And all of a sudden he starts to introduce cerulean and all those other things in with the ultramarine, that's like false stuff, right? It's kind of transitory case. A cool red that's introducing it on the light, right? Which is orange. That's false too. George, have you had your break?
Longer than I'm just.
So there are some shadows, right? They're deep shadows. They'll always be warm. And that would be inside the corner of the mouth, inside the nostril, inside the pupil, inside the ear. Why is that?
Blood supply.
What's that?
Blood supply.
Blood, right? And it's warm on warm inside your ear, warm on warm inside your eye. The only exception is if you've been eating orange pop or blue popsicles, right? Then you stick out your tongue and you go, doesn't look very natural. Here's that strong cast shadow coming here. I'm going to look just a little bit. Very hard edged here at the bottom. George has this bounce light coming off, right? It's that warm light hitting the shirt, bouncing up. So I could, certainly justify inside this cooler shadow. A warmer light.
for Georgetown to shake out.
Yep, let's take one. Any questions? It's original on, right?
It is. Easy.
Blossoms? Oh, I think it's kind of cool. I think it's watercolor, right? No, I think it's part of the medium, right? Just gives it a little more expressiveness. Right in wet, you know, a little bit of bleeding or looseness here, there's this tightness here, a little dry brush. Way in wet, I think different ways to create a softness. I don't know how I'm doing on time, like you guys want to go 8:30 or so? Yeah, well, I know we're just off of daylight savings time and stuff, but I was saying for this weekend on Friday and Saturday that for me, I'd like to see how somebody begins the painting of them. So, set up, all of that, then it's just wonderful. My friend Bob Casey was a really amazing watercolor Syracuse. But I tell my students with their paintings, the worst thing they can do is take it too far and overlook it. The second worst thing they can do is not finish it, take it far enough. Where's the right place to stop? Use a couple just to sort of soften it, right? That thing that just gets warm and then the rest are all stable. But it's under glass, center, go with the strength, and around here.
Just around the neighbor. growing up in so she knew a lot of just being around her. They're only like 2 months different. They were like sisters, really. No, because Dennis grew up in San Francisco and then eventually they moved to because they were so they were about she loves it. He had an aunt, so he came here, and then his brother came here too after the Vietnam, and so they moved here. No, that was before she married him and she was young. You know, they were this way. Everybody loved her. We would just go visit her. And she would just, we would just go there and stay. Oh yeah, she was really neat. It's like real sweet. She was very, had a good time. That generation. She'd have heels on, dressed really nice. Yeah. Everybody just started chatting. We took another break for him, and then somebody said it was time for his break, the second break, and then I guess people just started to get up and, because he doesn't really talk, I guess, you know. I love watching him, but, you know, he's just doing his thing. I don't know how much more time he has. He's got 15 minutes or so. I was just thinking. I think it was so intense for like half an hour, you know, and then he doesn't really talk, so people are talking, you know. His eyes seem like he should be so much smaller, you know, his whole eye is pretty, isn't it? His development of his eye is really just kind of, I think it was so intense, and now they're just kind of, oh yeah, that's fine. I was like, should you get up and go like this? And where he can't see, you just stand right there and kind of go like this, maybe. Right? Because they're still, if you're saying 10 more minutes, you know. It was two extremes, right? He's so good. I just love him. He's really good. He's a very good teacher. Wow. Oh, yeah, I can see that. If it
Well, I guess that's it, right? So.
Do you ever elevate your board?
Sometimes I actually at home tend to work a little bit more on a board that can go like that. Right?
Do you stand?
Usually
Was this a hot press or a cold press?
it's a cold press. But I have done, there's a couple of, there's a book on present nuclear over there, it's all on hot press. So, I've done quite a bit of gouache and some transparent watercolor. Paul Mann and I, Paul's good friend, we've worked on a couple of assignments for UWS Church, including his book, and he used a flash acrylic. I used gouache on that, but I think we all did about, we each did, I don't know, 150 paintings or something like that, you know, cranking it out. But it was really good practice. It was every little illustration is like a miniature painting style, and you learn a lot about composition and multiple figure things. So,
Close up. I did too.
Yeah, did you have a good experience?
Oh yeah, I was in for 4 years. I just didn't do this year because I had a show at Phillips.
It's very different.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, I was trying to get a close-up on the original for the stream.
For the newsletter.
No, for the Facebook stream, people who are watching.
Oh. People watch?
Yep.
I don't know how to do that. Facebook. I don't know how to do that.
Go ahead.
I don't want to get your
All right. No, I got it. Thanks.
It's good to see you. Have a nice Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I will. We'll get together. Have family. Get together.
Yeah.
It's very different. The kids are kind of working on like 2 of my friends. Makes it doable.
Oh, wow. In front of your friend?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Did you get a good photo?
Not yet.